So I know it's been a while since I posted on YouTube. Today's going to be a heavier topic. I'm going to talk about death and grief a little bit, but I'm feeling good. I just got my hair done again. Got my nails done again, especially after the past couple of days. I had a rough past couple of days. This month in general, especially towards the end of the month, May 22nd in particular, and then the date of June 2nd. That's my brother's birthday, May 22nd, and his death date is June 2nd. We lucked out in a sense that his birthday and death date are so close together. So we can all process it. Everybody in my family, we kind of process it all at once. The birthdays is way better than the death date. It'll be 8 years on June 2nd this year, that since my brother Steven passed away. And so over the years, what I've come to see is that my family as a whole, I think this year's okay. Last year was kind of okay, especially for me. I feel like last year during COVID, I processed his death. I processed a lot of it at the 7-year mark. So it took me that long to really get past it, to be quite honest with you. As time goes on, it gets easier to live with, but I really had to sit. I had to sit with myself, being stuck in lockdown. I had to sit with my feelings and my emotions last year due to COVID and the gyms not being open, and there are other things going on. And I had to sit and deal with it because I ran from it from a long time. So I couldn't handle it. I didn't understand why it happened, especially after going through all the stuff I had already gone through in my life. I'm just like, how the hell, after dealing with all the stuff that I've dealt with in my life, how the hell is something like this going to happen? Especially to one of my brothers, which, if anybody knows me, I'm the oldest sister, and I was always very protective of my 3 younger brothers, and I always led by example. I tried to lead by example when it came to them, especially coming out of the toxic situation that we came out of, our toxic family dynamic. So I knew I had to step up and be the leader, and I did the best that I could. I mean, I'm only 5 years older than my youngest brother, so it's not like, I was this super old, and we were all very close in age, and so it's not like it was easy for me to take on that role. I had to grow up fast, and I really did try to lead by example. And then over time, the boys started, especially when I was in my down moments, I was seeing them get better, and they started to help me, and I was growing from them. So it was cool. The whole situation's cool, and we're in a better space now. Even though our brother Steve's gone, but we're definitely in a better space, just personally, individually, and as a family. I wish our one brother would come back home, at least be a little bit closer, but it's okay. He's doing his thing out in California, so let him have it. He's having his fun on his bikes and all that stuff. It's all good. Love you, Matt. Keith, I love you. Yeah, so it took me a long time to process that. So how did it go? How'd the story go for me? Everybody's story is going to be different. I know my youngest brother, Keith, found out, and then he had to go tell my mom. And then my mom called me, and then no one could get a hold of Matt. I had to call and tell my brother Matt. It was just a fucking nightmare. I was living in Philadelphia. I had, I don't know, it's the summertime, obviously. So I just started my master's program, the new semester of my master's program. It was like 2 weeks in. And I was at the laundromat because I lived in Philadelphia. I was on top floor, Jackson Street, 9th and Jackson Street, which was my favorite apartment in Philly. I'm so mad that I left to go live with Shane's dad, but it is what it is. I got Shane, but I love that. I love that apartment, but I remember I didn't have a washer and dryer, so I had to go to the laundromat, and I was doing my clothes, and my mom called 3 times in a row. And I already thought something, because of that, something was up, because she called 3 times in a row. I was like, all right, so let me call her back. I called her back. She's like, what are you doing? It was just like a kind of a nonchalant conversation. And I was like, I'm washing my clothes. And she goes, well, how's everything going? Like, it just, just bullshitting me the first minute or so. And she's like, and I was like, I'm fine. What's going on? She was like, well, your brother Steven died. And I was like, what? Like, it just took me off guard. Like, it caught me off guard. Like, what? She's like, your brother Steven died. I was like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? So when you hear stuff like that, you really don't know how to react. I'm in the middle of a public place. I don't know what the fuck she's saying to me right now. She's like, your brother Steven died. And I was like, I didn't understand what the fuck she was saying to me. So I was like, Mom, I have to do my clothes right now. So I'm gonna go do my clothes. And I'll call you later. But, so anyway, I think I may have asked at the time what happened, and then she probably I don't know if she told me a car accident at that point, because I don't think we knew what the fuck was going on. Because he was leaving his girlfriend's house. He was coming down the mountain to go meet my dad for work, and also racing to get heroin, fix of heroin from my dad. They were doing drugs together. I always knew if somebody was going to die, I thought it was going to be Steven. And if that was going to be the case, or if any of the boys ended up dying, I always knew or always thought that it would somehow be drug related, because our father is a drug addict. So, and the boys had their issues with that, and Steve ended up doing the drugs. He was doing it with my father, our father. And so he was racing down the mountain. He was already a speed demon to begin with. He had gotten into a few accidents prior to his death. Actually, within the last couple of months before he died, and I think maybe even like a couple weeks before he died. And so he was not heeding the warning signs. And I don't know if he tried to pass somebody off. That's the story that we have gotten. He tried to pass somebody off, slid on his brakes because obviously he was going too fast and he lost control. And then over time I started to hear the details of it. We don't know the whole story because, one, we weren't allowed to see his body, and two, it's really not that important, but what I've heard is that he flew out of the car, smashed into a rock, snapped his neck, and I think he went immediately. I don't think he was suffering, which is great, but that's what happened. And so we didn't know. My brother Keith, my dad's like, okay, I don't know where's Steven at. He's supposed to be here 7 o'clock in the morning. He died at 8. It was a Sunday. He died at like around 8 o'clock a.m. on a Sunday. But we didn't know all day. So we went all day not knowing where the fuck Steve was, or Keith didn't know. Keith found out from somebody on Facebook. So people, I know social media is this cool thing and stuff. It's none of your business. So I'm going to say that first and foremost. If you find out information from your EMT friends or just fucking through the grapevine or whatever, you pick up shit and you find out somebody that you know has died, you do not go and post that on Facebook, especially if the families are completely fucking unaware of it. So that was just ignorance. And that's where a lot of times with the internet and Facebook and fucking Instagram, there needs to be boundaries. So please be mindful of that shit. Do not be speaking about stuff you know nothing about, especially because you didn't even first of all, these people didn't even know my brother. So you're just gonna go out there, put that shit out in fucking public. You have no ties to my family and you're gonna fucking post shit. So I just thought that was wrong and fucking inconsiderate and stupid. And you're just looking for fucking, I don't know, some kind of fucking, I don't know what the fuck, what was going through your mind when you did that. Recognition for something? I don't know. But anyway, my brother Keith ended up seeing that, and he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? So he gets a hold of my mom, and then they're realizing the time's passing. He never met up with my dad, and then Keith finally gets confirmation of it. My mom gets confirmation of it. Then I get confirmation of it, and then I had to reach my brother Matt, who was in New York at the time. So I had to get a hold of his buddy. I had to tell him what the hell was going on, and then I was like, don't tell him, I'm gonna tell him. Matt was at fucking work when I told him, but he's impossible to get a hold of. Thankfully, I was able to get a hold of him because of his buddy. So I had to tell him. He was at work. That was the hardest thing I had to fucking do in my life. I didn't know what to do. I was just like, Matt, I want to tell you something. Steve died. I just fucking came out with it. Because what else do you do? There's nothing. He was at work too. I felt bad, but there's never a right time to break the news to somebody that, you know, one of your siblings died or a family member died. So that was very hard for me to do. And we all fucking, especially the kids, you know, I know it's not easy for my mom and dad losing, especially my mom losing a child. I couldn't imagine. I say this all the time. If anything's gonna take me out, it's if Shane dies before me. I'm jumping off a fucking bridge. I've lived enough life. I've experienced enough things. I know what unconditional love is. I've felt it. I've felt it from other people. And so I'm good. So I don't need to live with shit like that. I already know what loss is. I have one kid. There's no point. There's nothing left to learn. For me, anyway, when it comes to that stuff, I don't need to deal with it. So, but my mom had 3 other kids, so she had no choice but to stay alive. But yeah, so it was hard for her, but as a sibling, speaking from the sibling standpoint, and you know, that being one of my younger brothers, and it being a major thing for me in my life where I was the leader, I felt like the protector. I love my brothers. I'd kill for them. I'd die for them. I'd take Steve's place in a heartbeat. You know, I always said I wish it was me that went, especially because I wasn't in a good place at the time when I was saying that stuff though too. But I mean that now too. I do. I would definitely take his place. But he's watching over us, so it is. I have come to realize it's all part of the bigger plan, and you know, it happened for a reason, and he had his own. If you're spiritual, you'll understand that he had his own soul contract, and you know, I talk about Shane and him reincarnating as Shane's some of the things that she says and does, and appearance-wise, and especially when she throws her jabs out, because he was a jabber. He liked to provoke people. He was a shit starter for sure, and we bickered a lot. We fought all the time, but there are a few times where he's like, you know, I don't mean any of the things I say. I love you, So I'm like, yeah, you little fuck. But anyway, we would fight a lot. But we were a lot alike too. So, especially when it came to, whereas my brother Matt and my brother Keith were more mellow back in the day and calmer and more sensitive to stuff. Not in a bad way. They were just more chill. My brother Steven and I were the fucking... we were the hotheads, so it's all good. So we would clash a lot, but loved him, and you know, I never wanted something like that. I never expected something like that. I never wanted something like that. I never wanted him to be hurt, you know. Oh, but I did see him a couple months. This is a funny story too. Not so funny, but just this typical dumb bullshit he was doing at the time, at that stage in his life. I saw him maybe a month or 2 before he passed away. I forget the time, but I remember just before I get into the story, I remember looking at him when I said goodbye, and he had this glow to him. And now I noticed it then, but I remember noticing that, and then I noticed it. I remember realizing that after he died, and I was like, you know, he had this fucking glow to him. It was the weirdest fucking thing. So it was, and then the story, because that was the last time I saw him. And then I had a phone conversation with him before he died about, you know, I had a boyfriend, I brought a boyfriend home, and I introduced him to the family. He didn't like anybody. And he was giving my boyfriend at the time a hard time. And so we left, and he calls, and my mom's like, I would always call the house, and he was home. He would answer the phone all the time. He'd be like, why the fuck are you calling here? Like, that's how he would answer the phone in all seriousness too. And every time I was just like, oh, fucking this motherfucker. But I was like, where's mom at? And then mom was like yelling on the steps or something, and she got on the phone, and he ran up the steps, but I don't know what happened, but I was like, my mom's like, are you gonna apologize to your sister? like for the bullshit you're saying to her boyfriend, da 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 da. He's like, yeah, Raquel. So I say this every year. I talk about this every fucking year because I'll never forget it. He's such a little dick. But he goes, oh yeah, I'm sorry, Raquel. And my mom's like, what are you sorry for, Steven? And he goes to me, I'm sorry you're my sister. So I was just like, this little fuck. So we would do that. That was our thing. And he was a little shit our entire childhood. But before, so those are just two things I remember. The glow that he had about him when I said goodbye, and he had this smirk on his face. Like, if people know me, I always have a smirk too. He had a smirk too. So I saw the smirk with the glow. And then that phone conversation I'll never forget when he's like, I'm sorry you're my sister. Like, you little fucking asshole. It's funny. But before that, so when I was at home, we were all, you know, at the house just doing what families do when you meet up and do visits and stuff. You're eating, blah, blah, blah. He came in before his girlfriend got there. He came in, everyone, my boyfriend was making dinner, but he came in, he's like, look at this, look at this. He pulls up his shirt, he's like, I got stabbed. Like, this is the dumb shit that he was fucking, the shit that was going on in his life. He's like, I got stabbed the other day. I'm just like, you're gonna end up dead. That's what I said to him, and he ended up dead. But he was just doing stupid shit, you know. You think you're a kid, you're invincible and da-da-da-da-da, but, you know, also coming from our family environment where it was fucking toxic. Everyone processes it differently, and all four of us did. We all shared the same experience, but we processed it all and reacted to it all differently. And Steve was more wild, and he was out of control a lot of times, and he was getting himself in trouble, and you know, he went into the Marine Corps and he got kicked out of that, discharged for fucking cocking off and drugs and shit. So it is what it is. So he tried to straighten up through that, but his girlfriend was really the person that was the best person in his life for him at the time. They were together for a long time. And I know she was trying to help him, but, and I'm thankful for her. I'm grateful for her. And she loved my brother. So, she loves my brother. So, and he loved her too. And so I know she was, I'm glad he had her. But he was out of control, and, you know, just, then results, he died. So, so that's just a little bit of the stuff that I remember. I think about that every year, and the stories, and, but for me and my own grieving process and stuff, so as I have mentioned before in my other videos, I had stopped training MMA 4 years before he died. I was going through some dark times. I got into some shit with dealing with one of the coaches, like I've mentioned before. Don't care to get into it. And that knocked me off my game, and I just had like self-sabotaging behaviors. I knew I was good at mixed martial arts. I knew I was a fucking fighter, and I ran from it. You know, at the time I didn't think I was deserving of the stuff. You know, when you come from the background that I come from, or you're coming from toxic environments and dysfunctional family dynamics, and, you know, you're abused and stuff like that, especially starting at a young age, and it continues on into adulthood, it wears on you, and you think about your self-worth, and you do, at some point, it's gonna catch up to you. Like, I saw this stuff when I was younger. I saw what was going on in my family. I was recognizing the patterns. I was recognizing the bullshit. And I thought I was being smart. I was like, I'm never gonna fucking end up like these fucking people. My parents. I'm not gonna be like them. I'm not dealing with this bullshit. I'm not touching drugs. I'm not fucking getting hooked up with fucking dumbass people. Unfortunately, that energy is around you. It's all around you. And I had to cleanse myself of that energy. that toxic energy, because all that was doing, there's shit that was just instilled from birth, from your childhood. You need to get you have to break the cycle, and until you get away from it, until you realize this stuff for yourself, you do get wrapped up in this cycle. So as I've mentioned before, you do, and you have to understand, you have to break it. You need to clear your energy. So I had toxic energy all around me. I wasn't toxic at that point. As a kid, I was a good kid, great student, played sports, I was friendly like I am now. I don't do cliquey shit. I'm friends with everybody. As long as your energy is cool, we're cool. I don't have a problem with fucking anybody. I have a problem with people that have attitudes, think they're better than other people, cliquey fucking bullshit, petty bullshit, negative bullshit. I don't deal with people like that. And some people are seeing that at my gym now. I don't fucking play around. So I don't care who you think you are. I don't care. You don't fucking know me, and I don't owe you anything. So if I'm not vibing with you, I'm not vibing with you. We can be cordial, but I'm not fucking with you. So you showed me what I needed to see. We're good. So stay in your lane. I'll stay in mine. But anyway, back to what I was saying. What was I? Where was I? Lost my spot there. I did. I literally lost my spot just now because I was dealing with some people this past week, and on top of my daughter's father's bullshit, and just Steve's death dates, recipe for disaster. So I'm trying to keep my head at the moment, but with the energy. So anyway, back to what I was saying about MMA. So I was self-sabotaging. And I wasn't realizing it at the time. And then Steve died, and I really could have used MMA. Looking back on it, that was the time to use MMA for the grieving process. And I didn't turn to it, so I was just internalizing. I always internalize shit from a very young age, and I'd had moments where I was kind of, I was good, then I would get in trouble, and then I'd be fine, and I was good, and then I'd get in trouble. There were just these moments, not serious trouble, but trouble to where over time I started to see a pattern, and I was like, okay, I'm not expressing myself, I'm not being vulnerable, I have anger issues, and I need to do something about this. And I didn't realize that until after when I was with Shane's dad, I started realizing it once I got pregnant with her and I had her, and I was like, okay, this situation is not gonna fucking work out. I need to get the fuck out of here, and I need to change. And not even change, it was come back to me, because like I said, I was always a good kid. I was always kind-hearted. I want good, I want peace, I want love. That's the type of person I am. But again, dark shit, I couldn't outsmart it, because it's just a cycle that I was in. And I thought I did, but I didn't. And then over time, when you go through things like this, and there's this, you do if you're spiritual, like I said, you make soul contracts, and I'm not aware of the soul contract. I'm not that in touch with my I don't know, psychic abilities or intuition or whatever, to where I'm like, oh, I remember this in a past life, or I remember this being our soul contract. Yeah, I don't. Some people might. I at this point don't know what those are. I just always remember saying to myself when I was younger, I'm gonna get through fucking everything. No matter what's thrown at me, I'm gonna get through fucking everything. I always remember saying that when I was younger. It's crazy. But I'm gonna get through fucking everything. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm gonna get through everything. And I just remember saying that. So maybe that was part of it. And to date, I have gotten through fucking everything thrown at me, and I'm proud of myself. And I just want people to know that you can get through it. If I can do it, you can do it. If I can have my back up against the wall as many times as I have in my own life, and I started creating that bullshit for myself, I was putting myself in shitty situations. So, but when you come to that awareness, if I could get myself out of that, you can get yourself out of it too. But you do. with the soul contract and your spiritual, this stuff starts to wake you up. You do go through an awakening. Like, I had a dark night of soul. People talk about that. I've had a few of those. I really had it after, right before I broke up with Shane's dad. I had it. I was just like, I was so fed up, and I felt so sick physically, where I felt like I was dying, that I was just like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. I'm a good person. I don't deserve this shit. And it just, like, it made no sense. And I was like, I kept thinking about Shane, and I was just like, she is not growing up like I fucking grew up. It's not happening. I'm not fucking living this fucking life again. I'm not doing it. And over time, it was crazy, because I would always say this. I would say this to people, and I'd say it to myself. I was like, I feel like a fucking drug addict. I don't do any drugs, but I feel like the fucking drug addict. Like, the way I'm living my fucking life, I just feel like a fucking drug addict. Like, it was just crazy. And I wasn't doing drugs, but it was that energy. And, you know, I was taking on my parents' energy and the bullshit, and I was internalizing it, and I just had to clear myself of it, and I'm glad that I did. But I'm just like, it was just nuts. I was like, this is their life. This is their bullshit. It has nothing to do with me. This is fucked up. I'm not living this life anymore. So you get sick of the bullshit. I think for me, what I've come to see is that for these turning points in your life, and the spiritual awakening and the self-awareness, you come to a point where you get sick of the bullshit. And that's important. That's key right there. If you don't have that, you're going to keep doing what you're fucking doing. But I got sick of my bullshit. I got sick of the bullshit. I got sick of my own bullshit. And I was like, I'm done. So we're going to try a different way. And I did. I slowly started to, because after Steve died, and me not having MMA to turn to, me not feeling like I could go back because I ran from it, and I didn't want to face that fact. I didn't want to face the fears. I didn't want to face, like how I was going to handle success. I didn't know how I was going to be able to face that, because I'm a very private person, and I've been putting myself out there more and more, but I do like my privacy. I don't like people in my business. I don't like being annoyed. I like to be by myself a lot of times, like I've mentioned before. It's easier for somebody like me, because I don't like others. Some people have fucked up energies, and as an empath, over time, I had to learn how to protect my energy, and I didn't realize I was taking on other people's energies. But I was, and it never made me feel good. Like, everyone in their negative bullshit, like, I had my own negative bullshit to deal with. I don't need to be dealing with anybody else's negative bullshit, which is why I will cut anybody out that is like that. I'll cut them out of my life. You're not my problem. You're your own problem. And unfortunately, if you're at a space where I see that you're at a space where you are just not, I'm not going to be able to help you, I back away. I can't deal with it, unfortunately. Like, I will do the best that I can, but I will have to cut ties if that's what's going to be best for me. And that's just the way it is. No hard feelings. But like I've mentioned, I've worked too hard to go backwards. So I'm not going to go backwards for anybody. Not one person. I don't care who you are. The only person I'll deal with is my daughter, because I'm her mother, and that's what I need to do. But anybody else, love you. Sorry. But, you know, if I have to cut you off, I'm going to cut you off. And I wish you well, but I'm going to do what's best for me always. And everybody should be doing that. But anyway, I'm meeting a lot of great people, by the way, and a lot of people that have the same energy as me, and they're positive, and so I know I'm attracting the right people into my life now, which is nice. It's a nice change of pace. And, you know, I always had my best friends from back in the day. They've always been there for me, and I know they were always my people, which is nice too. But yeah, so coming back to after Steve died, and MMA in general, so I was running from the fear of just not being able, I don't know if I could handle success, and I don't know if I'm worthy of it. And I wasn't saying that to myself, because I was just not in touch with myself that far in touch. I always knew I was going to be successful. I always knew I had this greatness inside of me. I always knew that because I overcame my shit. I was busting my ass. I was a hard worker. I fucking did right by people. I was a good person. I'm sweet, you know. I was in touch with source energy, God. People, humans say God, source, but it's source energy. So I knew I always had that going for me. And, you know, I look back on my life and I'm just like, you know what? As hard as stuff was, I always got by. I always, you know, I always came through no matter how difficult the situation was. And I always made it through. But back to MMA, so me walking away from that and not having that to help me with the grieving process, but I think about it now and just in the mental state that I was in and the emotional state that I was in and the anger that I was holding, I probably would have ended up killing somebody if I was doing MMA at the time. So it's probably a good thing that I wasn't doing it because I was fucking raging after my brother died. And I could get into this story a little later because I know the video is already a half hour long, so I don't want to get into, I don't have to tell everybody everything. But I did. I self-sabotaged and I got into some trouble. I didn't get arrested or anything, but after Steve died, it happened immediately after. I tried to go down to, after my brother died, I went to Brazil. I was planning on training again there in Brazil. I was there for 6 weeks in Rio de Janeiro. And I was right by the camp. I was stayed in 3 different hostels, but I was right by the BJJ camp. And I wanted to train. I always wanted to train. So the 4 years before my brother died, I thought about training every fucking day. And just living with this fucking regret every single day. And then after Steve died, it just, like I've mentioned before, it just got that much worse. I was watching the people train at the camp in Brazil, and I was watching them work out. And I was working out. I lost a lot of weight when I was over there. I got in some good shape when I was over in Brazil. I didn't train though, but I was working out, and I came back like I was, because I always knew, for me, I always knew how to regroup like super fast. I knew how to bounce back super fast, and I didn't realize the magnitude of Steve's death. And I went to Brazil. I was in my master's program. I went to Brazil to you know, regroup, and it did it. It helped me. And I broke up with somebody while I was over there. When I came back, that was it. But then like 4 or 5 months later, I met Shane's dad. So, because I was looking for a distraction from the grief and all that stuff. So, and I found one. Anybody that's paying attention to my feed, you'll see the other day. It's always something with him. Always. Don't want to get too caught up in it, in case we do, you know, eventually go to court. So I guess I need to keep it classy. But I'm not gonna ignore the fact that I've been dealing with this shit for a very long time. And I don't deal with this bullshit. As you can see, I'm very blunt when I talk to him, especially when he hits me with bullshit. He just never comes at me properly. He doesn't know how to have a conversation, and he tries to throw his weight around, and then he tries to intimidate me with his court talk. But we've gone 2 years now without going to court, and he knows why that is. So I don't even know why he tries to play me. I laugh at it, but it's an annoyance for one. And then, you know, we have a kid involved, and that's the only person I care about. But him thinking that he's somehow going to, whatever is going on in his fucking mind. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. I'm not concerned about it. I obviously take very good care of my daughter, and I won't have any issues dealing with him in court if it does get to that point. So, bring it. But moving on. So, yeah, so I went to Brazil, regrouped, came back, and just kind of fell. It was the perfect opportunity for a narcissist. Again, I don't like labels, but not knowing what it was at that time and coming to realize what I was dealing with, it all makes sense. I was very vulnerable at the time. I was not in the right headspace. I was ignoring the red flags that I was seeing. My gut feeling, I had a horrible feeling about the whole situation. And very early on, I actually told him goodbye, and then he kept pursuing me. It's okay, because I have Shane. And unfortunately, and fortunately, I wouldn't have Shane without him. So I am grateful for my daughter's father because of that. Anything else? I don't deal with him. It's important to cut people like that out of your life. It's enough that my daughter has to deal with it, and I have to deal with that on top of it, and working around the bullshit. But I'm handling it very well. I've handled it very well, and I will always do that. My track record will show that that's the case. He has nothing on me, which is lovely. But I noticed too, that was a big deal for me. So me coming up against somebody like that and dealing with it really taught me, I was having these anger issues and I was having these outbursts and I was getting myself into trouble here and there. Again, not serious trouble, but enough trouble to where it's affecting my life. And there's a problem going on. But I've come to realize it, and I was always like a calm person too, which is funny. And that's why I think I got so mad all the time, because I was very calm. I was reserved. I was soft-spoken. And when I was coming up against people like this, these fucking idiots, I can say that because that's what they are. I know they're lost and hurt and confused and da-da-da-da. It's not my problem. Your insecurities have nothing to do with me. That's your own shit. Deal with it. Like, I deal with my own. That's everybody's responsibility. So I don't do the victim bullshit. For a little while, I felt like a victim, but I never liked that mentality even when I was younger, so I snapped myself out of that really fast, because I don't like that bullshit. Nobody's a victim. You make choices, you make decisions for yourself. You are the master of your own life, and you are responsible for handling all of it. So that's what I do. But I noticed if I didn't have this experience with my daughter's father, I was never going to... One, I wasn't going to get my daughter. I could have had kids with somebody else. I wouldn't have had her. So that happened because of that. But also it helped me with my own anger issues, and they're just coming back to me again. But it helped me. I was like, if I don't stay calm, I could, and he takes me to court, and I pop off in front of the judge, because I am known to do shit like that. I don't give a fuck. Like I said, I don't give a fuck who you are. You're not going to tell me how to run my life. You're not going to tell me how to live my life. And especially when it comes to my daughter, nobody is going to tell me what the fuck to do. Especially not a fucking judge who knows nothing about the situation and who this fucking asshole is and who he's pretending to be and da-da-da-da-da-da. So he always, like, I saw how he operated with his previous relationship in the court system. And so I had a front row seat and how to deal with his ass. So I was prepared. And he didn't like that. He doesn't like that. He doesn't like knowing that. But I have to protect my kid. I have to protect myself. But I knew that if I went to court with him and I popped off in front of the judge, I could get arrested, or I could end up losing my kid, or then I look like the insane one. So I had to check myself, and I had to stop doing what I was doing, and I had to change, and I had to chill, and I just had to sit and be in the moment, be in the present moment, and just deal with whatever the fuck he was trying to throw at me and not react to it. I was very reactive after my brother died, especially. I was over time in certain situations. I was very reactive to certain things, but after Steve died, all hell broke loose. I didn't give a fuck about anything. I didn't care about anybody. I didn't care about anything. I did what I wanted to fucking do. I was mad. I wanted to be mad. I stayed mad for a very long time. I didn't give a fuck. But it was just killing me inside. So, and it caught up to me. I felt like I was dying. I didn't like it. I didn't like who I was becoming. I didn't like how I was acting. And I still feel that way. I will do whatever I want, but it's in a more mature sense as to, like, I don't owe anyone anything. because I've gotten myself out of shitty situations. I've taken care of myself. I'm very independent, as everyone knows, and that's where it comes from. I don't need anybody. That's where it comes from. So that's why I'm able to say I do whatever the fuck I want. It's because I can. But not in an angry sense now. But that's what it was for a while, and it was just, it was eating me up. So, but then I never stopped thinking about MMA, and it just got worse after my brother died. And I knew in order for me to maintain my composure and to keep calm and to not react to the bullshit that I was dealing with Shane's father, I knew I had to go back to MMA. That was the only thing that was gonna fucking save me, because I remember how it made me feel. It calmed me down. I felt at peace there after working out, getting those endorphins going, and I didn't work out for a long time, and I wasn't taking care of myself for a long time, especially having my daughter. After having my daughter, I nursed her for a long time. That is a fucking, that put a lot of stress and pressure on my body, and I was so focused on that and trying to be a great mom that I was neglecting myself and my own self-care routine, and I just wasn't taking care of myself properly, and it all caught up to me. It caught up to me physically, and I knew I had to go back. I knew that was going to be my saving grace. If I didn't go back to MMA, who knows what I would have ended up doing with this motherfucker. So, sorry, not sorry. That's just the reality of the situation. So we can play nice and be cordial and play by the books and the court system, but we all know what the real deal is. You're a fucking asshole, and that's just what it comes down to. And I needed to get away from it, and I did, and I'm happy that I did. And anything he says and does doesn't fucking faze me. Don't fuck with my kid though, or we will have a problem. And he knows that. And, I give him credit. He, like my mom has mentioned, he loves in the best way that he can, whatever. Yeah, we'll say that. I already know where his headspace is. I know he's out of alignment. And I just try to protect my daughter from that, to the best of my ability. 'Cause, I can't control him and what he does and how he reacts to situations. And, so that's that. But I'm also not afraid to speak about it either. So what are you gonna do about it? Anyway, so back to the grieving stuff. So that was just kind of like my background story. But coming back to Steve's death and the grieving process itself, and you go through those stages of grief. The denial stage, shock stage, whatever. Then, that I think I was in that stage for a very long time. I was in the anger stage for a very long time. And, as I'm talking about this stuff, it's funny because I start getting more nasally, like I am right now. I can feel myself getting more nasally. It's just me trying to release all this stuff again, because it's a process. So while it has been 8 years, it's a lifelong journey. Like, I have to live with that for the rest of my life, knowing that my one brother's not here with us any longer. Just in the ego mind, he's here, he's still here for sure. But when your ego comes into play, you think about that, you go to the darker side of it, and it's a loss. I mean, that was a person. We were blood related. It's my family, it's my brother, it's a big deal. But I get nasally talking about this. It's crazy. But anyway, it's all good. I'm releasing more and more of it. But I was stuck in the denial stage for a while. I was running from it. I was a runner after a certain point. Like, normally I would stand and bang. I say that because, I'm a fighter, so stand and bang. These are just the terminologies I think about, but it applies to your outside life too. So I would stand and face shit. I would, and then after a certain point, I stopped. I fucking quit. I gave up. I couldn't deal with it anymore. But I did. I was just so low, so low, feeling so low. It was either I'm gonna die, I'm gonna end up in prison, or we're gonna fucking we're gonna figure some shit out. So I decided to figure some shit out, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful that I isolated myself for that period of time. It was a good 5 years that I just was not dealing with my brother's death. A good 5 years that I was running from it, and then I was tied up in the bullshit with my daughter's father, and so that was taking up a lot of my energy, and then other shit that was going on, and it just I was still running from processing his death, and I was ignoring that, and I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to think about it, but you know. I did last year, in the year of 2020, thankfully, and I'm happy that I did. And so what normally happens for me, so I know I was stuck in the denial stage, the anger stage, and then finally the acceptance. I don't remember all the stages, but the acceptance and letting it go. I got through. I did. I let a lot of that go, especially last year. Thankfully, but it's a process, and everybody's going to grieve differently, but I want you guys to really focus on the spiritual aspect of it, because that's what's going to get you through it. Coming back to that, and knowing that there's a bigger purpose behind it, and knowing that they're not really gone in the grand scheme of things, and that they're always there with you regardless, and you know, they're looking after you. And after he died, and I went back after, oh god, the funeral situation, so I went to work right away. I got with the planning of the funeral and all that stuff, and what I did, what was helping me with the process and stuff, I got all the pictures together, and I wrote up a little thing, because my mom couldn't talk. I ended up talking at the funeral, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to speak just on the fly. So I had something written out, and then I mentioned a story, and so that made people laugh and stuff, but I knew I wasn't going to just be able to speak without having something written down at that point, because it was just too upsetting. And then after the story and the laugh and stuff like that, I was like, all right, I want to be done with this now. I did my duties as the big sister, and speaking on my brother's behalf, and I'm just done. So not where I could speak about it now, and I'd be able to talk about it now, fine, but I'm glad I had that, what I wrote down. I'm glad I had it. It was short and sweet, to the point. I think I mentioned him being a son of a bitch, and you know, it's all good. And then, but I remember putting all the pictures together, and I took my time with that, and I just focused on that. I was very creative in that, and you know, I wrote up the piece. And then what else did we do? So we did all that at the funeral, and then we played Simple Man was his song. We played it on the walkout, you know, we ate and everything, and then that was that. But the week of that, so I want to talk about this a little bit, because people a lot of times they gather around and stuff, but then it's just like grieving on top of grieving, and that negative energy, and when you stay stuck in it with everybody, you have to take breaks from it. And it was just it was a nightmare for my family, because the dysfunctional dynamic in the first place, it was a fucking nightmare. And I knew I was going home to a shit show, and yelling, crying, screaming, blaming, all that stuff. It was a nightmare. So having to deal with that toxic shit on top of trying to process the fact that my brother's no longer here, that was very difficult to deal with, and it was a fucking nightmare. It was not nice. It wasn't good, and I just couldn't wait to get home. But when I got home, I was there for a week. When I got home, and I parked and I parked, came back outside to the car to get my stuff, and there was a fucking white feather sticking out. I still have the feather. I don't know. Where the hell is it? Hold on a sec. I still have this goddamn feather. Where is it? Hold on. Where it is? Give me a sec. I guess people just like are more prepared for their videos, but I like living in the moment. That's how you have to roll. Otherwise it's just too forced and fake for me, for my liking. But let me find this real quick. Oh, here we go. I found it. Okay. Woo! Awesome. So, let me show you some stuff. So I put together this packet, like the pamphlet you usually do, and actually what I wrote out, I think. Yeah, so I did. Where's my feather at? Hold on, I need to find a feather. That's like the most important part too. Wait a sec. I'll show you guys this stuff in a minute. My feather's wrapped in a special... Uno momento. Uno momento. Find it eventually, and I'll post it when I find it. It's in one of these boxes here. I can't really find it right now, but it's somewhere. I may have moved it because I took it with me. I've never taken it with me somewhere. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is I found this this white feather. Let me fix my hair. This white feather was sticking out of my windshield right after, like, the week that I got back for, after he died and we had the funeral and everything. And I took it at the time as a sign. I was like, that's a sign. Everything's okay. Everything's fine. That's a sign from him. And then I saw, when I was putting the pictures together, I do apologize for the time that I was trying to, I will find that goddamn feather and I will post it. But anyway, because it's important to me, and it's just a sign that, you know, it just goes to show there's a bigger thing here, and you do get sent messages, and it's the little stuff like that that really helps you to see that the life that you're living now, this isn't all that there is. And I want people to understand that there's a bigger thing out there, and we need to come back to that. Yeah, we need to come back to that. We need to realize that and stop living in this material, fake, ego invested world. That's not what life is about. But yeah, I put this together. So that's my brother. We didn't have a ton of pictures. He was like me. We didn't like taking pictures. I obviously got over it. I'm getting over it because I know I'm going to be a star. And I have to get comfortable being on camera. So just like, I'm getting over it. But I did. I put this together. And everybody had a pamphlet. There's pictures of him. We didn't have a ton of pictures because, again, he didn't like taking pictures. But there's my family, my brothers. I don't know if I have one of him and I together. I don't think we might. I didn't put us on here though. But I remember this little picture when he was little. He was very cute. He had the blonde hair too, where the other three of us had dark hair. And then when I put all the pictures together on the cork boards and stuff, we noticed like Steve was always kind of offset in the pictures. And even in here, look at how he's offset. It's just funny. Like, we think about stuff like that. This, my brother Matt, my brother Keith, you know, me, my mom, my dad, obviously. But Steve was always like in pictures like this. He was always off to the side. They always worked together and stuff, my brother and my dad. And that's his girlfriend. She's so pretty. But yeah, look, he was the biggest one too out of everybody. He was the big one, but he was the protector. And it's just interesting. You think about that stuff and how it was all set up. Like, it was just, that's what was happening. And I remember another story. His girlfriend had told us, And it's funny, like I say this story every year too, and I'm glad I'm getting this out now. So when the dates pass, I'll be all right. Normally I don't sleep, so like I didn't sleep last night. It's not as bad as it was last year. Last year was really bad, but I was also going through a lot of stuff and plus COVID, so everyone was stressed the hell out, not knowing what the fuck was going on. But so I'm sleeping okay. It's not that bad this year at all. But I remember telling Sarah when we were younger, she came up to me with one of her friends and she goes, my brother's girlfriend, she goes to me, "Oh, I like your brother. He's so hot." Da, 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 da. I was like, "Which one, Matt?" I was like, "Matt, you're talking about Matt." She's like, "No, Steve." I was like, "Oh, you need to stay away from that one. He's trouble, blah, blah, blah." And then I remember talking to her the night he died, and I go to her, it's not funny, but it is funny. I go, "Sarah, I told you about his ass. I told you he was trouble. I told you to stay away from him." So we laughed about that, but you know, again, we love Steven, and but yeah, that feather was there. I have to find that feather. I don't know where the hell I put it. You know what happened? I know I took the feather on the plane with me. I usually carry it around with me if I'm on a plane and stuff like that. So it's in one of the boxes somewhere, but I'll keep that as long as I can. I don't know, do they last? I don't know. I've had it for 8 years now, so but yeah, there's that. And I remember going to a concert by myself. I went to a Leonard Skinner concert because that was one of his bands he loved. And you know, I put something like the stuff you do to honor your family members and stuff like that. I put up something, "We love you, Stephen Michael Sean Evangelisti," up on the board. I took a picture of it. But yeah, that's my brother Steve. Very handsome. And I think I look the most like him. I used to look like Matt a lot. My brother Matt, we used to look like twins when we were younger, but I've come to see that I look like Steve a lot, and then Shane also does at certain times, and we were a lot alike. But yeah, I miss him. I think about him all the time. It never goes away. I'll dedicate my first professional fight to him, because he was a fighter too. I remember him boxing. And I wish we had the damn videos. We didn't keep track of this stuff when we were younger, but he got pissed in a boxing match. He actually started boxing before I did. I was involved in wrestling before him, but he started boxing, and we're at the match. He got pissed off. He got tripped up in the rope somehow, but he came up and he like uppercutted the ref. So he was just so pissed. So we remember that was funny. And then we also remember him never having his fucking shoes on. Like he would fucking lose his shoes all the time. And you know, in the car accident, I'm getting a little teary-eyed, but I haven't cried about this shit in a while. So, but in the car accident, obviously his shoes were off. He flew out of the car, but we saw the shoe, like the shoes were not on his feet. And we would laugh about that because he was always tripping over his big ass fucking feet, and his shoes would always come off, like when he played sports. And even Shane, I think about her and her feet are so big, and Steve had he had really big feet, and so Shane trips over her feet too. She has big feet for her small body, so it's just funny. But yeah, so I didn't think I was gonna get upset. It's all right, it's all good. It's just that time of the year. But we think about him every year, and I think about him every day. He comes up at some point, and I know he's guiding us, and I know that all of that stuff that I experienced and that we experienced, and the stuff that I'm trying to do now, it's for a bigger reason. And you know, I talk about fighting because it was such a it just made me feel so good. It made me feel alive, and it's not about the hurting part of people, because I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody, but I love playing sports, and It's not about that. But I will also say this. People, people don't seem to listen. There's a bigger purpose in this life, and people only seem to listen to the bullshit. So, you know, you have these famous people, these rich people, these athletes that have these fucking platforms. I'm not saying they're all like that, but most of them are. They have these platforms and they're not using them properly. And it's all about get money, get rich, on this, on that. And they take that bullshit power to their head. And they throw their money around, they flash the shit around, and I know that they're still missing the bigger piece of the puzzle. And for me, especially going forward, coming from the shit that I've come from, coming from nothing, and eventually getting to the place where I have whatever it is that I want, and not that I need anything, because I don't. I have everything I need now. But once I get to that point, to where I'm making a lot of money, I'm going to stay the same. I'm not going to be flashing that shit around. I'm going to be putting out important messages. And unfortunately, but actually thankfully too, the only way people are going to fucking listen is if you're doing stuff like I'm going to be doing, which is fighting and competing. And that seems to be the only way people are going to get, like, I'm going to get people to understand, and it gets people's attention, like, oh, fight, oh, they're fighting, everyone thinks it's so cool, again, it's not just about the fight for me, there's a bigger picture here, there's a bigger message that I want to get out there, and I plan on doing that with fighting. So yeah, I know it's a sport, it's a violent sport, it's dangerous, you're hurting people at the end of the day, you're trying to hurt somebody, but, you know, that seems to be the only way people fucking listen is through the dumb shit. So I will chase my dreams as a fighter, and I'll just use that to my advantage. It's all good. I'll take that platform, but I'll use it the right way. Again, I've mentioned people before not representing the sport very well at all and stuff. You know, for me, I was talking about this the other day with one of my friends about, we were laughing too. He said something fucking funny. He goes, what did he say? He goes, I was like, it's not about the money for me. You know, these people are in there representing, we were talking about boxers in general, like Floyd Mayweather and how he's fucking dumb as shit. Sorry, but you are, for taking a dumbass fight with this fucking random ass fucking person. I forget his name, but like, why professionally and as a fucking professional fighter, champion fighter, prize fighter, would you entertain some dumb shit like that? And it's stupidity to me. So instead of like flashing your money around and, you know, giving these fucking random ass people that are just chasing money, fucking time in the limelight with the bullshit, why don't you focus on more important things? So it's just, to me, like, I don't care for circus acts. I think Conor McGregor was a circus act. Ronda Rousey was a fucking circus act. I hope the Diaz brothers come back, because I like them. They've been around for a long fucking time. They may talk shit here or there, blah, blah, blah. They did their fucking time. They're owed money. They actually fight. They know what the fuck. They are the real deal. So they can talk shit all they fucking want. I don't care. They actually fight. I appreciate people that fight. I really, like, I'll run my mouth now because I know who the fuck I am. And I can. And I was never really like that, to be honest with you. But again, this seems to be the only way to get the message out there, is if you're acting like a fucking idiot. And so when I'm in juggernaut mode, I mean, that's really me. I mean, I really feel that way. But there's this there's this character that's being built right now, and that's just what people do. But I'm not gonna be flashing money around, and I definitely intend on coming back to the sport itself of mixed martial arts when it comes to discipline, hard work, never backing down, never quitting, never giving up, and fucking getting through everything. That's what it's about. And then peace and love too. You know, you get into the gym to train to get all that anger and the bullshit out of your system, and and that's what it's about. So again, leave that shit in the gym. Leave that shit in the cage, and you stop acting like fucking idiots is what I really want to say, and come back to what's really important, which is centering yourself and just facing your bullshit. So this is a long video. I think I'm gonna end it here. I know I got a little upset, and it's all good. It's that time of that annual anniversary. The annual anniversaries of my brother's passing. So I know some people have lost some people recently, and they're dealing with that and struggling with it, and loss, everybody experiences it. That's another thing. I know I mentioned this before in one of the videos somewhere. I know my videos are long. It is what it is. But what did I want to say about that? I forget. I'm tired at this point from talking about it. But yeah, just you're gonna experience loss. Oh, Steve was the first death I experienced. So I know I've mentioned that before, but that was my first death, first major death. There was a wrestling coach that passed away in high school, which was a big deal. He was young. He was only 27 at the time. And he was close with my one brother. And so that was a big deal. But other than that, Steve in the family, when it comes to our family, Steve was the first one to die. So that was a big shock, a huge loss, and as you see, it still affects me. It's something I have to live with. My whole family has to live with for the rest of our lives, and it does get easier with time. And just give yourself that space. Give yourself that space to grieve, and it's okay. Like, I know I had other stuff going on, so it's just an accumulation of all the stuff that I had gone on in my life, and that was the tipping point for me. Him dying, his passing was the tipping point for me to where I just completely broke the fuck down. But that needed to happen in order for me to get to this place. So it's all good. But I want you guys to you're gonna go through your own grieving process, and everybody's different, but just love yourself through it the entire time, and don't get so wrapped up in the negative part of it, of them not being there, and life is meaningless, and and don't let it take you off your game, because it did. It took me off mine, and it's okay. I forgave myself for that, and you just have to, it takes time. You have to give yourself that time and think good thoughts, be positive about it, accept it, let it go, and just always hold a piece of them in your heart. And you could talk to them at any time, and have them show you a sign, get in touch spiritually and stuff, and it'll be all right. I mean, this is just the cycle of life. This is a part of life, and it's just showing us we're all gonna die at the end of the day, and no one knows when their time is up. And so it's important to live your best life and be the best version of yourself. And again, don't focus on other people. You've got to focus on yourself. It's your life. It's your journey. And always come back to love. Always come back to peace. And box that ego out, please. I know I was on my ego a little bit this week, and that's fine. But I know how to come back to me too, so it doesn't matter. But I'm also glad it happened because with Shane's dad, because that was a good piece on narcissism. And seriously, read the comments section. Those are more, the comments and my caption section of that piece is more important than the videos themselves. And I'll probably speak about that a little bit more going forward. I tried doing everything I possibly could to work with this guy, and just be me, be myself, be good. And unfortunately, he doesn't appreciate that, and that's okay. I appreciate it. I've grown from the experience, and I'll keep doing what I need to do for me and my daughter, and to protect me and my daughter always. So yeah, but grief and loss, it can be a hard pill to swallow, but you're gonna get through it, and just give yourself that time to grieve, and don't, if you can, just take it from me, take my advice on this. For somebody who bottled up their emotions and didn't talk to anybody and couldn't deal with it, and hid and ran and isolated, themselves, don't do that to the best of your ability. You don't have to talk every day about it. Try to talk to somebody about it. You know what I mean? So open yourself up a little bit. Be vulnerable. I was vulnerable just now. Didn't realize that was going to happen, but it did. And that's okay. It's okay. So allow that to happen. That's part of releasing. It's part of letting it go and coming to peace, coming to terms with it. But yeah, that's enough for today. Hour, 10 minutes. But I'm glad I got this out of the way. So now I can kind of focus on training now. But anyway, take it easy. Much love.